Okay, here's part two of our video. My software only does 15-minute increments, so we were talking about prioritizing our requirements. Must-haves, those are the critical to the success of the project. The nice-to-haves, these are desired but not critical. And then you could have a subset, which is the should-haves and could-haves if desired. As well, you typically will put all of this in a thorough document called a BRD, a Business Requirements Document, that will require sign-offs from management, both on the IT side and the business side. And sometimes that's easier said than done. You know, I've had to refine, mediate, negotiate with different parties involved in different projects to gather consensus and to get those sign-offs. And then we would hand the BRD down to the systems analyst to do the designing part. And typically, yeah, so you distribute copies of your BRD, and this is under a waterfall approach. Any changes would have to be managed using a change management process, which is pretty involved. You'd have to have something very materially significant that was missed to insert it at this stage of the game. Okay? So, from a user requirements BRD, what would your BRD contain? Well, it needs to have a lot of information, assumptions, things that we take as factual or true. What are our critical success factors? That could be, buy-in by everybody, training, competent developers, making sure we've got all our requirements. So you put down what you feel would be critical to success. What are our project deliverables? Clearly delivering a robust solution that has no bugs or defects. Put down all our requirements, our functional and non-functional requirements and specifications. And we may also include some process diagrams of the different cross-functional processes that occur within a company that would provide the data for our BI application. And we've talked about all these different types of cross-functional processes that exist within companies, and how processes generate data, and the data is the data that is then fed into our BI system. We would do a prioritization of our requirements that I just talked about. Provide traceability back to what is the goal, what are the goals and the objectives of this project. So you want to make sure your requirements trace back to the goals and the intent of why we're putting in this BI solution. And maybe have some change control processes or policies, right? So we can't just willy-nilly or haphazardly allow for changes to occur. Let's say we missed a requirement and we want to sneak it in. No, that doesn't happen. You have to go through a formal change management gating process or evaluation process to say, yes, we need to put in an amendment to our BRD. And we might put in some use cases. Those are, we'll be talking about use cases more in 6124, but what they are textual or diagrammatic depictions of how the main actors or users of the software will interact with the software. And we'll talk more about use cases after the midterm. And then any appendices and any other articles of information or artifacts that you want. So the implementation phase. So you're ready, you've built something, and you're ready to launch it and bring it out to the masses. There's different options available, and nothing is right per se. It all depends on your company's preparedness and ability to launch some software. The key is you're meeting business and user requirements, and there's two elements to that. The BI tool, the software, and the technology, the underlying technology. For example, you may go with SQL Server and Tableau. Right? You need to either build or buy these tools. And then development of the BI solution to fit within your existing legacy systems. For example, your company may build and implement a solution using a combination of in-house systems and design people and developers, but also perhaps go and buy a commercial off-the-shelf package and work with outsourced contractors. So it could be a hybrid approach. You could do everything in-house, or you could solely rely on a vendor with their integrator. But you would clearly need some people from your IT department to work with them to ensure that the interface with existing legacy systems is seamless. So we talked about some characteristics over the first half of this semester. What makes a good BI solution? Well, aligned to the business strategy with good business processes. The solution is able to provide insights that are valuable to the consumers of the data. It's easy to use, and it's not clunky or cumbersome or not intuitive. It's clean, accurate data. You have good connectivity, and you're able to interface with your existing technologies of your company, like your ERP system. There's flexibility. Changes can be quickly and easily modified, and to provide a more dynamic environment. You're able to use things on things like your smartphone, right, or your or an iPad, not just on a desktop computer. And your tool can be scalable, meaning you can expand the solution to more users and or have more data in larger data base sets, and there would not be any loss of performance. So that means the tool is scalable. You can throw more data or users using the tool at the same time, and you don't see an interruption in service. When we talked about vendor evaluation, and that's critically really important. As I said, you elicit requirements from your users, you do some design work and systems work, and then you go out and you see which vendor best meets your criteria. You don't do it, as I say, backwards. Okay? So see if you can figure out what that meant. So you want to ask these questions. Which software solution are we going to use? Right? So here's just a handful of ones that I have dealt with over the years: Sisense, QlikView, Microsoft Azure, Tableau. will there be a third-party integrator helping with the integration? And who is that? What is that company? Use your requirements documentation, your BRD, to objectively evaluate all your software vendors. And everything needs to be documented. Software vendors make a lot of money off of integrations, especially when things aren't clearly defined and spelled out and documented. So you want to make sure your documentation is bulletproof. Are the integrators employees of the software company, or are they a third party? That could have, implications with respect to communication. Often promises made by the salespeople can't be kept by the integration team. Salespeople are like used car salesmen, okay? Saying, yeah, it drives great. So take that heat of warning. And make sure you have a thorough evaluation criteria or scoring method that all interested stakeholders have access to, and their opinions are documented and heard. Your project's not done once you've implemented. You have to make sure that you're keeping up to make sure that there's no degradation of service. You've got to be monitoring your solution post-implementation. The harsh reality is most implementations will have some bumps in the road, and often they're not considered successful. So you have to make sure that you're monitoring your application once you've put it into production. You can do a few activities or BA techniques that we'll cover in 6124 as well, including doing a lessons learned. This is a retrospective look back at what did we do well, what did we not do well. I call this my Clint Eastwood story, where we document the good, the bad, and the ugly of your project, including the overall project, the back end data or an architecture review, the front end software and training process. So you want to assess your project objectively, right? And there's some pitfalls to doing a lessons learned. People don't like to point the finger. We'll talk about things like that in 6124. Because the BI project then turns into a BI process. And you as a BA and the project team hand the keys to the car off to a process owner who will now be responsible for maintenance or administration of the tool. And BAs, you walk away from the project and you go to a new project, right? But sometimes they suck you back in. Anyways, that's my Godfather thing. So as end users begin to use the software, you may be involved in generating new requirements. And this again is handled by the IT team or bundled together into a new project, a phased project plan. Finally, 3 to 6 months after the launch of the project, you might want to do a business impact analysis. Are we meeting the core requirements that we set out to meet when we launched this project? And are we delivering value? Are we saving money? Are we generating more profit? You got to do an impact study. So, today we reviewed business analysis perspectives on BI as they relate to BI projects, and we learned about user requirements in the context of a BI project. Next week is the midterm test, 1 hour, where 25% of your grade. A reference sheet is permitted, lockdown browser is required.